Yo, 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 family. What's going on? So now the more and more we think about this Ben Affleck stuff, and I gotta shout out my homeboy Brian Kuhn. Brian, if you haven't thought about it yet, you should be a psychiatrist or something like that. You have that amazing ability to just calm everybody down. You did it last night in the Spartans room, so shout out to Brian. But sleeping on this Ben Affleck shit and thinking about it again this morning, there's no bad in this, because there's two things that can happen. And last night I made a little video that said, you know, Ben Affleck died in Justice League, blah 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 blah. He died in one of the Justice Leagues, I'm pretty sure. But, and like I said, this is all speculation. I don't know shit. I don't have a source. I'm not a scooper. Nobody tells me shit. It's just when you look at Zack Snyder's movies, or at least when you look at, you can see it heavy in BVS. And I think you could see it in Man of Steel also if we just saw the Snyder cut. But Zack Snyder uses like symmetry a lot in his movies. What he does in one frame, he might do it again just with someone else, and or with the same person, just flip it in a different way, right? So if you're looking at his story, and then you're looking at his shirt, and you're looking at just the type of, I wouldn't say physics, but just the type of way of thinking he's trying to get you to look at, you can mirror pretty much the shirt with the movies, and then you can mirror the storyline with the shirt, with the roadmap. But all right, so look, let's get it back to this Ben Affleck shit. So check this out. If Ben Affleck dies in Justice League, and I'm gonna just say this, if Ben Affleck dies in the Snyder cut, that will be a reason why Matt Reeves is trying to get a younger Batman. Because think about this. This is just one scenario, but there's another scenario I'm gonna present also. Think about this. The last time we saw that Bruce Wayne character really happy was when he was with his parents right before they died at the beginning of BVS, and he was telling you there was a time when everything was perfect, and they were showing the little boy smiling and blah 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 blah, and they were at Excalibur movie, which came in theaters in 1981. All right, so that's the 80s. Joe Chill killed his parents in the 80s. All right, so Wonder Woman is now going back to the 80s. Watchmen is in the 80s, and there's so many different Watchmen references in BVS and Man of Steel, you had to know that somewhere they're involved, right? Or at least Dr. Manhattan, but I would say all of Watchmen. All right, so now we're focusing on the 80s. That could be why Matt Reeves needs a younger Batman, because his story could be focusing in the 80s, which maybe is the reason why Joaquin Phoenix Joker is in the 80s. Maybe is the reason why Wonder Woman went back to the 80s. I'm just guessing this shit. I have, like I said, I have no source. I'm no scooper. We know Dr. Manhattan, you know, fucks with that time shit. We know now Flash will soon to be able to do it once he learn it. We know also Darkseid can do it, because Darkseid powers pretty much mirror Dr. Manhattan's powers, just on the bad side. But all right, so that's one level. Batman dies, Bruce Wayne dies, Ben Affleck dies in one of the Justice Leagues, one of the Snyder cuts, and they're going back into the 80s to pretty much stop something that has to do with Bruce Wayne. I think so. I think Bruce Wayne is the center character to all of this. It could be Superman too, because, you know, they started out telling Superman's story pretty much, but I think Bruce Wayne could maybe even mirror Superman, and that's what I think is going on. Superman came down, just think about the shirt. Superman came down from the heavens to the earth, Batman came from the earth, went up to the heavens. So I think they're just mirroring each other. So now, how could that be good for Ben Affleck? There's still more story to tell for Ben Affleck, because Ben Affleck is the old Bruce Wayne. So he had a whole life to live, right? Remember how he was talking to Clark at the charity event? He said, you know, I just had a life of fucking fighting people dressed up as clown suits, right? They can do like Rogue One and just flip the script like Rogue One did and tell another Darth Vader story, because there's still more Darth Vader stories to tell. There's still more Ben Affleck stories to tell that happened before BVS. And in that, now you can introduce Darkseid. I mean, not Darkseid. You can introduce Deathstroke, because of course, Ben Affleck had a script with Deathstroke in it. Let Ben Affleck do his script and let him do like a Rogue One, like Star Wars did with Rogue One. You still had Darth Vader and, you know, whatever. It was still Star Wars canon is what I'm saying. Ben Affleck can still have his canon. Matt Reeves can still have his canon. Matt Reeves could still have his canon, let's say, because Ben Affleck died in the Snyder Cut, which means they have to go back to the 80s and fix this shit. I think Matt Reeves can play in that 80s area, early 90s, if he wanted to do that detective story, because the detective was the very young Batman. Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck, is old Batman. He's more of a, he beat people's ass, like the warehouse scene. He wasn't more of the detective or the acrobat. He was just a fighter, the old Batman. So there's a way you can tell both stories and still have Ben Affleck, you know, suicide mission of the Snyder Cut. You can have all three of that. If it feels like everything is going as planned. It feels like nothing is off right now. It feels like DC and Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder and whoever else is over there, Walter Hamada, Jim Lee, it feels like those guys are getting shit back on track. Just my opinion, have no source, not a scooper. I'm your mother's best friend. Ya bitch.